Hello and welcome to the Carbitrage podcast, episode 197. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Sinisky. Hello.
Hello, patrons. Hello, other
Hello,
people.
and glorious fellows. I don't even remember what the thing was from.
Inglorious Industrial Fellows.
Yeah, industrious little fellows. That's
Not
what it is.
inglorious.
Inglorious is good too. That movie, by the way, is 11 years old. So just so you remember that.
Now I feel-
You
Head
should
on.
watch Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, Jojo
If you
Rabbit.
liked Inglorious Bastards, you'd like Jojo Rabbit.
I haven't seen that, but
Oh
I'll
my
have to-
God,
I'll have to
it's
torrent it.
so good.
Let me open up. Oh, I would, or no, I'm not opening up the torrent app right now because I have a 10 megabit connection
Yeah,
on this
don't
current
do
computer right
that.
now. But
It
It
is
might,
so
you might
good.
even be able to stream it now.
Where do
I'll
we-
look
where
it
I'll
did
up.
we
torrent
watch
it.
it?
It's not a big deal. I just need to do it when I'm not doing
Not
this.
doing
It
this.
is so
Um,
good.
Oh, sorry. Before we do the episode, head on over to patreon.com/carbitrage. On this particular fancy old website, you'll find 2 open-ended levels of support for people like you to support people like us. If you just want to buy us a beer or help support the hosting costs, that would be greatly appreciated. But if not, we understand.
You also get an
Patreon.com.
extra. You also get an extra hello from me.
Oh, and the
Why are you
smarmy hello,
stealing that
and
from-
probably
'Cause
we
it's
have
Curtis
clever.
Carter?
we have new stickers that actually say Carbitrage on them, and you
Yes.
still get koozies, and I think shirts still. So yeah, just go ahead and do it, and then just message
We'll
us.
give you
Patreon.com.
Be active. Patreon.com/Carbitrage. I'll send you some shit.
Yes.
Beer. You are still.
Ooh,
Oh,
I
looks
can
like
make
you've
them
now
Christmas
finished.
cards.
I'm all done with it.
What number was it again?
That was 039-20280.
Okay, cool. I'm drinking a Summit Porter out of a glass. It's fine. Not skunked, so we're good.
Can I have Oktoberfest?
Yes, it's fine. So Ryan's gonna go for a Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
I have like a sip left of my coffee, which is sad.
Gianna, would you like an Oktoberfest?
No.
And since Ryan has the first topic, so yeah, 197. It's a good number with a lot of history. I'm looking forward to 3 episodes from now, which is still in the calendar year 2020, I believe.
Nope.
No, it's
our last time
2021.
recording in 2020.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't
dang.
know how time works.
Yeah, time is irrelevant right now.
Damn it, I don't
think
have
it's
a
all made
ca-
up.
I don't have a bottle opener.
Oh wow,
Oh,
life is really
you're
tough
really
for you.
unprepared.
What is your favorite antenna?
Oh, I can. Here, no, I'll
My
talk
favorite
about.
antenna is the roof-mounted E30 M3 and E30 Touring antenna because it is on the top of the middle of the roof, and that's a weird spot for an antenna.
So you know how it snowed like a couple weeks back now when this airs?
I actually don't remember the last time it snowed here in Minnesota.
That's fair. Anyway.
Anywho, it was a very light snow, and so everyone was panicked because the last time it snowed was October.
I remember
and-
that one.
Yeah, they
Fest.
forgot how to drive, and so this summer,
Delicious.
the city of Bloomington decided to take all of the trees that lined our streets in the neighborhood,
Okay.
just like all of them.
We should also note that she's got like the one hilly neighborhood in
Yeah,
all of
I
Bloomington.
live on Heritage Hills Drive. It's all hills and all windy.
It's
And full of
the
heritage.
whole subdivision is actually in a valley. Yeah, and at the bottom of the valley there's a park that floods all the time.
There should
but-
also be a store called Down in the Valley down there. They should just move it
that's
down
what,
there.
Yeah,
that's
they
what, yeah, move it. But anywho,
We're full of useful advice.
because like it's off of Normandale and Old Shakopee, so everyone takes this as a through street, even though that
Yeah, get around the
we don't-
stoplight, yeah.
we don't like that, and everyone goes a little too fast down these curvy hills. And it used to be every winter we'd find cars in all the trees because people were too cocky and would drive too fast, and they'd just slide into the trees.
And then their car
And it
would
would be
in a U shape.
yeah, and
I'm
it's
trying to go
fine.
full pretzel, but it's tough.
Yeah.
But because the city of Bloomington took all of the trees, and I kid you not, all of the trees
they
that were
literally-
on, on
They
the
tore down like
boulevard.
In the
20
boulevard,
Yeah,
sure.
they
Yeah.
tore down like 27 trees, like
Cool.
between the road and the sidewalk. Yeah.
and refused to replace them with
Cool.
anything. And so,
1 second, because they were pushing up the sidewalk,
yeah,
and they were afraid people would trip.
No. Oh.
yeah.
They were healthy trees.
Well, what can go wrong with a decision like that?
Well,
We'll find out.
so instead of the cars Tokyo drifting into the trees, they now launch themselves into my neighbor's front yards.
And
so
also.
So in the mailboxes, kind of stop them, but this time of year we don't leave the mailboxes up because they just get taken down by cars that didn't hit the trees.
They literally remove the mailboxes because of this issue.
Yeah.
They should put a sign right in the front that says you should have winter tires, and then as they mow that sign down and they're forced to replace it with their money,
Yeah.
they'll read it and then
Yeah.
maybe take that to heart.
And so like we've also asked for a stop sign at this intersection to
It's
You're
an
not gonna get that
it's
to
an
happen.
uncontrolled intersection going downhill with
Yeah.
no trees,
and a curve where you can't see oncoming traffic. It's,
and there's enough trees on the other side of the houses that it's actually a shaded road.
Yeah.
So there's no direct sunlight.
in the yards. But anywho, so my sister and I went out to get pet supplies because she got a dog and I'm getting a cat. So we needed to
kitty.
get supplies for them. And we're on our way back and we're like, oh, we could either go up the giant hill on Normandale or we could go through our neighborhood. So we're like, we'll go through the neighborhood because then we won't have to stop. And we have to stop because the street is lined in cars that didn't make it around the turn because they're going too fast.
Well, no, it's because they have improper tires and
Yeah.
bad drivers. They
Yes.
are not going too fast.
Yeah.
Speed is a factor in 0%
Well, they're going too
of
fast.
crashes.
That is correct,
Their
actually. It is.
Car and their ability.
It's their equipment and their ability.
Yes.
Speed was not a factor.
And so this person, we see someone had run over a mailbox and we're like, the huge. And then a Amazon delivery driver stopped to see if the person that hit the mailbox was okay. So we couldn't get up the hill. So we were forced to just see what was going on. And then we are trying to figure out how we're going to back down this hill without causing any more traffic problems. And we see that the reason why everyone is stopped is because a car flew off the road into my neighbor's driveway and totaled both the cars in the driveway
Like totally bent all their suspension and everything.
with a single car. And I just see one man in a face mask in like utter tears as the owner of the house, just like absolutely distraught and like doesn't know what to do. And there's someone in his yard standing by this car like on the phone, and I'm just like, oh my god. And I was like, this is why we had trees.
Wait,
Like,
this is
this is
literally why
exactly
the
why we
trees
had
the
trees.
trees were a safety like item.
I was gonna say they were probably put in like the 50s or the 60s, and then everyone who did that forgot and died.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
like
then
there's
the,
a very
the young
good
people
reason
are
for
like,
this.
no, these sidewalks aren't safe.
No, everyone in the neighborhood wanted to keep the trees.
Yeah, the
Like, they're
city
like,
fought
we
the entire
will-
neighborhood.
We will maintain. We're like, it's not pushing up the sidewalk. Like, we'll maintain the sidewalk. Like, it's no big deal. Like, can we replace the trees? And they go, no. So they told us that they're taking our trees, and we couldn't do anything about it. Thankfully, my trees were spared, but that's not where the cars go in because we're at the top of the hill.
Yeah, you're on
sure the noisy
you're on
neighbors
the
will-
outer edge of the turn
Yeah.
uphill. Like you're where the tree doesn't need to be. But the person that's on the bottom edge of the hill on the inside of the corner, like where the cars spin into. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel so bad for my unfortunate downhill neighbors because now they have to deal with cars.
Tell them to work harder and buy a better house.
I feel like
Gra-
you know what the city of Bloomington should do, or your whole neighborhood should do, is like ask for highway barriers the
Yeah.
entire length of the road, so it looks like a Mario Kart track.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put K-rails in the winter. I guess you could say that.
Maybe we should
Yeah,
do that.
They're ugly,
honestly, yeah.
but-
And we'll give them a cement.
Well, you know
block.
what? If the city wants to destroy the property tax value of their houses, they're welcome to put in as many K-rails as they want, because they've already destroyed the property value by having cars
Yeah, there's
flying to the fucking
actually
house.
one
You
of
could
the
you could also just move and then just let your neighbors deal with it.
one of my neighbors actually does have K-rails in their front yard.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, there was one that he actually put it on their property.
They're just a little bit.
As long as
Further
the city
down the
does it,
hill.
it's fine, because then your liability is reduced.
Yeah,
Well, it's in their yard.
Well, it's in their-
Instead
it's
of
in
a
their
fence,
yard.
they have K-rails.
because I feel like this has happened before.
Feel like that would make them liable for something.
Yeah, but I
financially.
mean, like, also, I will take the liability of having a K-rail in my yard over having a car in my house. Because like where theirs is, the car wouldn't enter their driveway; it would enter their picture window into their living
Yeah,
room.
because they're further enough.
So they get 2 claims.
far enough down the hill.
Yeah. So, Oh my god.
Yeah. So that's the fun. Now I'm really excited
This
to
is
see
why-
what happens this winter when it snows more.
I feel like this is what happens when like
Because that was a light dusting. What's
Yeah,
gonna
that-
happen when it ices over?
Yeah, there's already a lot of ice out today. I was surprised.
yeah, we were her neighborhood gets icy. There are times where I've had to spend the night at her house because
can't get out
even
of
with
my
snow
driveway.
tires,
Oh shucks.
like even with with her brother and everything, but
I retract my statement.
yeah, but like even with snow tires, you cannot get up the hills. Like sometimes it's just pure ice.
I know.
So-
I've seen videos of that kind of thing happen in Seattle, where all of them are
Yeah.
just.
That
is
happens
my
in her
neighborhood.
neighborhood because
And-
there's no sunlight. There's like just enough trees that blocks the road, but not the trees that block the house. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Because all the trees in
Snazzy.
the yard stayed, just not on the boulevard.
Yeah. So
All right.
all right. Well, I want to talk about this is actually our last episode that will be airing in 2020. So happy New Year, everyone.
Hey.
2020 is finally over.
About this time last year, we did our bear and bull list for 2020, and honestly, I'm gonna be 100% frank. I've not had the time to crunch the numbers because Cyberpunk 2077 came out. I have a computer, so I can actually play it, and I've been doing so.
Nah.
So I am sorry. We could talk about the awesome
Fine.
cars. We could
I
talk
have
about
been-
the Galena and the Subaru Brat that's in it, and the
Yes.
Testarossa with the cut-up fenders. That's very cool. There's several very great
And that
cars in
super product placement Porsche that they call to as a Porsche in the game.
There's a
Yeah.
Porsche in the game? I
Yeah.
haven't got to
Yeah,
the
I
end of
haven't
that.
gotten that
it's
far
a,
yet.
It's a porch.
They call it a Porsche,
That's funny.
even though Porsche paid a ton of money to put that in the game.
I love that. I love that. Well, the whole game's about the disintegration of society.
Well, that's fitting.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that they put into that game that were
Yeah,
very fitting.
Cyber Dildo 2069 is pretty good.
Now, I want to talk about, since I don't have the actual numbers, I was only able to run the numbers on one of the 9 cars that we were talking, 12 cars that we were talking about.
Okay.
So I'm not going to blow that yet. However, I want to talk about what our bear and bull list is going to be for 2021. What do you think? What cars do you think are going to be seeing a big boost in the actual value of the car, and what cars do you think are going to do like literally nothing?
Be a bit softer.
Yeah, be a bit softer. You know, I'm not going to say cars that are like going to fall off a cliff in value, but just things that are
We're
just like going to do nothing.
Mainly talking about things like BAT. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that's
Yeah.
really going down
I
significantly.
also do need to note when I'm crunching the numbers for the bear and bull list, last year we did BAT and Craigslist.
Excuse me. Ooh.
With the pandemic, that's affected Craigslist enough that I don't feel comfortable.
Also, Marketplace has affected Craigslist enough.
Yeah, I think we're just going to do BAT moving forward.
We could do cars and bids too, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or even eBay. I mean, that's pretty
yeah.
big still.
I just want to, I want to, because those are going to be very difficult to verify. And then with the pandemic and everything, it's very difficult to know for sure that these cars are selling and these cars are actually available and that they aren't like changing the price because of the pandemic one way or another. So I'm just going to bring a trailer, and I don't want to give Doug DeMiro any clicks, so I'm not doing cars and bids.
Fine.
I just refuse to give him my money.
Because he wants to personally fight him.
I'm aware.
Yes.
Fisticuff at the
I've-
next.
I've known Ryan for several days.
Yes.
The next bring a trailer
Many-
barbecue.
Many
Many
days.
days. Like if you known him many days.
So what would you say are your bull cars, the cars that you think are going to do well?
The E34 and E39 M5. Mm-hmm. We've seen those, especially the E34, pick up in the last couple of years, but they're now going the way of the E28 M5. They've like doubled in the last 2 years. The E39 M5 is still on kind of the early end because it's a 2000 to 2003 model, but those again, if you've got one that's in a condition. A condition.
Yeah,
It's appreciated significantly, and it's not going to stop just because it is actually that good a vehicle. I'm going to throw the E31 6-speed back on there, even though I had it last year. The 850i 6-speed's still been on a steady upward slope that's beating the market. ZHP sedan E46s, not the coupes, not the convertibles.
Yeah,
the
those-
4-door 6-speed ZHPs. Keep your eye on those. If you find a relatively clean one with no rust, buy it. Just
yeah,
buy it.
I think that's very
Because you can
good.
put miles on it, and it will not lose you any money.
I'm gonna have a mild spoiler for our 2020 numbers, and I'm just gonna say, as long as I worked at Bringer Trailer, I've not had a single ZHP sedan not hit its reserve, and we've been setting kind of like up their reserves on them.
I think those are going to be worth more than decent M3 someday.
I've only had one ZHP that did not have a reserve on it, and that car's Carfax read like a book, and like the panel gaps were what you'd expect for the equivalent Carfax, but that car still sold for much more than you would imagine it would sell for.
And we're kind of on the edge of you missed the boat on those, but like another good thing you could do if you're really in the market for one of these, buy a clean auto ZHP sedan and just manual swap it. The value you're going to get out of that car is almost no different if it's cleanly swapped versus factory. E46s are just that way. And then my last one is the 2001, so the S54 powered E36 7-8, which is the Roadster and the Coupe. Z3.
E36 7
M Roadster. Yeah, so they're E36s, but they're E36-7 and E36-8. The dash 6 is the TI, and then the rest of them are just E36.
Oh,
so
okay.
There you go. So the 7 and 8 are the Z3s, Roadster and Coupe. The S54 cars, especially if you can get one that isn't silver, they're going nuts. So those are my bull cars, which are like, if you haven't bought one now, you're probably shit out of luck.
I'll go through my bulls as well.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about Bear after that. So my bull cars, my number one are going to be Mitsubishi Delicas.
It's not a car at all.
It's a van.
There you
but
go.
It still counts because Jan said the Gelandewagen for 2020. So
Vans are better than cars.
yes.
So.
I'm going to go with the Delica because a lot of people have been scooping these up. It's actually low-key a little hard to find one in America right now. Like, there's a glut of them in January, and there are none now. Because what they offer is they offer everything that a Vanagon or a Eurovan offers, but with reliability. Like, they are quirky.
And four-wheel drive.
They're four-wheel drive. You can take them off-roading with everybody wanting to get away from other humans and actually enjoy themselves. Like, the Delicas have been going bananas. I think that has opened a lot of people's eyes up to overlanding and opened up to the whole van culture. So yeah, Delicas are my number one on my bull list for 2021.
I'm inclined to believe you because there's no supply.
Yeah, there's like none. Like,
You want to look at something to import.
yeah, I was talking.
Imported
Well, I was
Delica.
talking to Aaron from the Rad Report,
He
and
friended me the other day.
yeah, he's actually a really cool dude. But yeah, he's been looking at vans, and we were talking about that. I'm like, Delicas are great. You just need to make sure that any repairs you have are done before your trip, because if it breaks down, you're not going to find your part. But of course, that being said, you're not going to find your part for a Vanagon either.
Or an FJ Cruiser.
Yeah, and all of these vehicles, the Delica is going to be by far the most reliable. So yeah, the Delica, I'm putting on my bull list specifically. You can say really any Japanese van, but specifically the Delica because that's the one people know. I'm going to go with the early Evo cars as well. That's been my number two. The 1, 2s, and 3s when they're still based off of Mirages especially.
Evo 3, I think, is if you can find one. It's
yeah,
a solid
'cause
pickup.
Before they were based off of actually Lancers and they're still Mirages. Those cars are very undervalued. And we talked about this already, where it's like you can get a good deal on one, a really good deal.
Yeah, you can import a nice Evo 3 for what you would expect to spend on a domestic Evo 9.
Seriously, yeah, like a nice Evo 3, and then once you get to like the Evo 3, like you get to like the
It's actually
larger.
a pretty solid car.
Yeah, like the 1s and 2s are a little.
They're cool because they're just
They're
early
very
evolutions,
cool. Yeah,
but
they're very cool. But
you wouldn't necessarily want to use it as much.
No, and it's like they actually made enough changes between the 2 and the 3 that the 3 actually does stand out. That's when you start getting the big wing and everything, because you get like smaller wings on 1s and 2s. But the 3 is really like, it's there. Like that one, like you see that, you go, this is an Evo. You see a 1 or a 2, you're like, this is like an AMG Mirage. Like,
Yeah, they probably could have modded it back
yeah,
in the day.
it looks a little weird. Like you don't expect it as much. But yeah, the Evo is like definitely like up there for
100%.
I'm gonna say that even over the GC, WRX, and STIs. I'm gonna put all my chips on the Evo specifically.
I'm never going to recommend a WRX.
Well, I mean, again, it's not really necessarily my recommendations, but it's what my bolus is and what I think will be. You know, I up until a moment ago, I actually was gonna say American 1990s muscle cars, because I've actually seen a lot of interest in those.
I could see like an Impala SS being
Yeah, I've seen
pretty
like
strong
those,
pretty soon.
like those, the early Roastang Mustangs and the 94, 95 Mustangs.
yeah,
the,
especially like the Roush ones.
yeah, and like the Z28 SS 4th generation Camaros. Like I was gonna say like those.
I think even the LS1 powered 4th gen.
I was gonna go with the SS one because they're a little bit more rare. They're undervalued for what they are.
So the SS is the small block?
That's the LT1. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the LT1. It's a.
Those still had trim
can't
X6
remember-
speeds, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the company that modified them, but they were actually the SSs were bought
sorry.
from.
God damn it.
You would buy the SSs from Chevy, and then Chevy would take it to this other shop. It's
Probably Callaway. They were the
No,
only...
it wasn't Callaway. Somebody else. It was like some totally different shop I'd never heard of, and they'd modify them with like a actual functional Ram air intake and everything. It's really cool. So like they're actually cool cars. I mean, they're not like the
Anything
SS.
that's factory sponsored like that, yeah, for
They're
sure.
not LS cars, but I mean, like they're like definitely the coolest LT car that you
Okay.
can get. But I actually took that one off because I'm actually gonna put in my chips on the W124. Actually,
Now, are you just going to blanket with
blanket.
that?
I'm gonna blanket across the 124.
Okay.
I know it's gonna hit some of the weirdo AMG cars, the 124 or the 300E 24s. But I think I'm just going to blanket across the board on the 124 because I think that they're undervalued. Until a lesser extent, the W201s, the 190s as well. But I think the 300E is much more well known.
I think the 201 has more attainable special editions than the
Yes.
124 does. But yeah, I think most other people that shop for those kind of group them together.
Yeah.
If you're shopping for one, you find a cool version of the other, you're going to buy that.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
more or less Tinker Toys, so you can get not necessarily better powertrain combinations, but yeah, no, those cars, I've always liked them. I'm surprised that some of the versions are as soft as they are,
Yeah.
but I
And
think they've
that's-
actually done really well in the last couple of years.
And yeah, that's kind of why I'm putting them out there. I'm putting them on here because, especially the '80s ones, I especially love mechanically, because I know the early '90s ones had gasket issues and stuff, and Trig's all well versed in those.
4-cylinder ones did.
The 4-cylinder, I thought he had I'm pretty sure he had trouble with the 6-cylinder head gasket whenever it came.
The 2.8s did.
Yeah, the 2.8. Yeah. So
Those were not common in the 124. That
But,
was a
yeah.
202 engine.
yeah, so those are. Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, he did have a 202. You're right. But
202 280s are not good.
yeah, so I think with the 124, just because that's like really the most attainable, really cool like 80s Mercedes product that you can get, and it's like it doesn't. Another thing that's like this is like kind of newly important to me. It doesn't have the footprint in your driveway that an S class has.
All right.
Like a 126, like that's gonna take up your whole life. Whereas like 124, it's the size of a normal car. Like
Right, you can still use it too, and
Yeah.
they're pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Although, like, you get the trade-off because, like, all the pre-cladded cars with the better paint and the arguably better steel, they're going to be mechanically injected.
exactly.
And
if
the
you
later
run-
cars with good EFI, if you've had one with the harness replaced, are all water-based paint.
Yeah, so
and
you,
it's
you
like
get your trade-off. I think that's what's holding them back. Is a lot of people are realizing, you know what?
the real play is a 91 to 93.
Yeah,
Because they
I
have
think-
the old paint and they have cladding and they have the earlier injection stuff. They didn't go to the biodegradable harnesses yet. So,
Yeah. So
like,
the
if
91
you're
to
gonna pick
93
up
specifically.
a plain Jane, really enjoyable W124, get yourself like a 92 420E.
I was even gonna say if you can get yourself like a 300E, like on one of the CIS cars, if you can get one for like $1,000 and its only issues is it's got messed up fuel injection.
There are people that can still sort that. Yeah.
Yeah, like you might be $3,000 in getting it all. Like worst case scenario, everything needs to be done. You're $3,000 in,
Yeah.
but then you've got $4,000 into the car, and
Yeah.
you know what? That car's worth $9,000.
Yep.
Like
and it will continue to run as long as
yeah,
you drive it regularly.
that's why I think the big thing with the W124s is you can still get the ones that have fuel injection issues, and you can get them for such a good deal that I think a lot of people are picking those up and flipping them. I think that's gonna be a really good way
Man,
to do
I'm
it.
fine with that. Yeah.
Also with 124s, project car, COVID's been happening. You got nothing better to do, so
I'm still gonna recommend the 4.2 liter
yeah,
V8.
the 4.2 V8.
The early M119 is such a good engine.
But I mean, also,
People freak out about the little plastic injection pieces. It doesn't matter.
I mean, and then also with the 124s, you also have the 500Es, which are being like bananas.
Right, I'm just
So,
saying
yeah.
attainable cars.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm going to include all of them together,
Yeah.
including the 500E.
Oh, yeah. If money's no object, get a Hammer or a 500E for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go across the board. I think just across the board, the 124, one of the best chassis you can invest money in right now.
Also a W201 Sportline.
Yes.
I want one of those so bad.
That'd be very cool.
Damn, I'd even take an auto and swap it. I don't care. I really want a 201 Sportline.
The sport lines are worth it. They're so worth it.
All
They're
right,
the cool
so
special editions.
let's go to bear stuff. Stuff that's
Yeah.
kind of either cooling off, staying stagnant, or maybe even dropping a little bit this year.
So
You can go first, then I'll follow
my
up here.
bear car, because I'm only going to do one bear.
Okay.
I mean, I'll talk about other ones, but I'm going to do one that's going to be my elected bear, because I don't want it to be just a big negative thing.
Okay.
Especially after 2020 with how negative everything. I want to tell people, I want to be happy about things. I'm going to go with the non-M E30s. I think they're not going to do shit this year. I think they've hit their
They've
peak.
inflated a lot.
I think they've hit
they're
their peak.
nowhere near their peak, but they've come up
Well,
so
maybe-
much in
maybe
the
I should
last
say.
year.
I think they've hit their peak for the next couple of years. Because I think once the E46s, all of them, are at 10 grand, I think the E30 will go more. But right now, I think the E30 is being dragged down by its its successors. Where, yeah, you can get an E30 you can get an E30 325 iX. Yeah, but I mean, like, that's like the attainable one to get right now.
Gross. Yeah, just don't even bother.
But I mean, like, you can get that for like
Don't buy
in
one-
good
don't buy one of
in
those.
good yeah, but I mean, like, in good nick, you can get one of those for $7 grand.
Ugh. Icky.
But at the same time, you can get either the worst E30 for $7 grand, or you can still get the best E36 or the best E46.
Right, but the people that are shopping for clean, unmolested, we'll
Yeah.
call it E30s, are not people cross-shopping E36 or E46. They're
That's-
cross-shopping E30 M3s that they can't afford.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like other people getting into it. Like I'm
Right.
talking about the expansion of the market, and I think that
And
like,
that might affect it a little, but I'm in agreement with you that I don't think they're going to do much in
yeah,
2021.
I think they're where they're at for now.
But there's a good reason I'm putting a single cam engine back in that car, and that car falls squarely into the category that you're talking about right now. And right now, that thing's probably worth like 15 to 18 grand, and
Yeah.
it's nowhere near its top.
And that's the thing is, I think that they'll eventually go up, but like once the larger market that just like want a good 3 Series, not
Yeah.
specifically E30,
Yeah.
because that's the thing is like the EFEG EK Civics. Yeah, there's always been the Honda people that will pay ridiculous amounts of money for those cars.
Right.
But it's only been recently that the larger public has discovered how great classic Hondas actually are.
But the thing is, all of those generations have merit, whereas the E21 has taught us this with BMWs.
Yes.
Doesn't really work that way.
yeah, and
because
that's a good point. But,
E21's got pulled up a little bit by 2002.
but I'm talking about like
But not by
I'm
much.
talking about the E30, E36, and E46. Those
Right.
all have merit. The E36 is obviously the worst.
That's
of
the
of those
E21,
bunch.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think of those three. That's more like the EK,
Right.
where it's like the weakest of the bunch, but
Yeah.
still fine.
Yeah.
And it's overall fine. I think that
What you're saying is correct.
Yeah.
I just think we should narrow it down to saying like the ZHP and M3 E46s. Once those are consistently at just ridiculous numbers, the E30s will finish their
yeah,
place.
yeah, okay, yeah, I can say that. I feel comfortable saying that.
'Cause, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, I think that car is gonna not do jack shit
Yeah,
this year.
so not a great short-term hold.
What do you think will be your bear car, and what are your other options for bears?
Okay. Stuff I think is not going to do anything this year. The pre-G60 air-cooled 911s. So the mid-80s and prior air-cooled cars, I don't think they're going to move.
Yeah, no.
E24 BMW 6 Series, I don't think it's going to move. Not right now. I don't know. I don't think they're going to necessarily go down in the future, but I think they're...
I'm with you on that one.
I think
Stagnation.
they're up there. I mean, the cars that I've been looking at have been transacting for like 10 to 15 grand, and I think
Yep.
that's too much for an E24.
I think so. With the E24, I've written a few of them,
Yeah.
and I've written some good ones. I've not written like an M6, but I've written like 635 CSIs
Right.
and stuff.
M6 benefits from having a $20,000 engine under its hood.
I think that the E24 is one of those cars where it's very similar to the E30, where it's so close to its the other cars are better than it.
Well, there's
I
nothing
still-
better than an E30,
Yeah,
but yes.
But I think that the E24 still has that Radwood effect going for it.
It does. It has very distinctive styling, and people fell in love with that. They don't care that it's a shit car.
It's a terrible car, but and that's the thing is like I had to write several of them before I decided I didn't want one.
Yeah.
But
Again, it's one of those things where like I'm happy to give people feedback before they buy one, and I will tell them no, and I'll give them reasons, and I
And then they get
always end up
sad.
with "I told you so."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
that's the
I'm
thing.
never trying to gloat or relish when I tell somebody that, but I'm like, "I told you so."
that's literally what I told you not to do. Yeah, and I think that's the thing with the E24 is like it's not like getting an Audi where it's like okay, like it looks so great.
Right.
It looks amazing. And I think if you have, a 560 SEC in your driveway,
Oh yeah.
you need, like, you're out of your mind if you're not looking for an E24.
Yeah.
If you have a 560 SEC. And if you have a 560 SEC, reliability issues are not, they're irrelevant to you.
Oh, those are fine.
Yeah, it's irrelevant to you if a car is unreliable because, like, even though a 560 SEC is a reliable car, when it does break, it's going to ruin your life.
Yeah, you got to know the right
Yeah.
person, and they won't be close to you.
No, they won't. And the E24 is very similar, except it just breaks more. So what are your other cars that you're kind of like
Next
on?
next on the van, I'm actually going to go out of order here. The Z32 300ZX.
I've got no faith in that car doing anything. I agree.
A good, clean, unmolested turbo, which basically doesn't exist. Those cars are moving. The rest of them, the okay kind of 90s modified turbos that aren't perfect, and all of the NA cars and all the 2+2s,
Yes.
just they're not going to move. So
This is my issue with them. I'm going to specifically compare them to the 3000 GT because they're
Okay.
kind of equivalent in being
they were competitors.
they were competitors. They're very similar in price, and I will take a 3000 GT any day. And it's because of the sellers and the people that you have to deal with when you have to get it.
I believe
Because
you.
the 3000 GT, you're dealing with more like enthusiasts, whereas like the Z32 people,
They're terrible.
it is.
I've dealt with a few because I've tried to look at
I
clean turbo
quit
cars.
going to the Z owners of Minnesota meets because it's just a bunch of angry boomers that
They're
are all.
so
They-
rude.
they-
and
those people need to
mean.
die, and the cars need to get willed to the next person
Yeah, I
of kin.
think-
Then
I
they're
think,
a buy.
I think the Z32 will be a great buy in 10 years.
Yeah. Yes.
But
like,
like right now, I'm
it's the
not
people
dealing. I'm
ruining
not
it.
dealing with the people
I
at bottom.
remember they
'Cause it
reached
is a
out
good
to
car.
Ryan being like, hey, we need some help with the club. And Ryan's like, oh, for sure, I'll help you. Like, no worries. Let's meet up at the meet. And like, he was talked with them for a couple of weeks before the meet, and it was all fine. And we get there. Everyone refused to talk to either of us. Like, I understand refusing to talk to me because, like,
Yeah.
just people do that. Like, that's fine.
You know why? Like you understand why? It's a sexist thing. It
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
Like,
Boomers.
but you know what? You
So
go
like,
into
I
it knowing that's gonna
expect
happen.
that. Like, I expect people to like refuse to talk to me unless they seek me out.
Yeah.
Like, I just know people aren't going to talk to me, which is whatever. But like, they wouldn't talk to Ryan, and Ryan is very approachable.
I'm trying to help you.
And like, they asked him to be there, and it was just like cold shoulder the entire time. And he finally found the person who reached out to him to help him with the group, and like, even they were rude. And it was just like, what is
Z30
going on?
Z30
Z32
suck.
people are like original owner C4 owners.
That's exactly who they are. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna say that. No, like because C4 owners to date are original owner C4 owners. I will deal with them every day before I deal with. They are C3 owners,
Yeah. Oh.
not original
yeah.
owners. Just
Yeah.
anybody that owns a
Yeah.
C3 probably either has had, is looking to get, or currently owns a Z32.
Yeah, and I remember our friend
Those
who
poor cars,
is
man.
also a lady that also owns a Z was like trying to get into the club because she had a nice Z, and like they would not talk to her. And I was just like,
There's the worst
Are
people
you
out.
kidding
Boomers
me?
get angry when they walk by an empty kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're just like it is like the worst of the worst. Are those are Z32 owners, and
Yeah.
they will talk at you all day about their car that does not matter.
And you know the biggest problem of those? Those cars sit in garages not being maintained, and you can't not maintain a twin turbo Z. So in 10 years, when you buy one
Even
of
the
those,
NAs you can't.
you'll have to do everything to
Yeah,
it.
no, even the NAs you can't.
But the beauty is, once you've
Yeah.
done that stuff, which blows and it's very expensive, it's a great car.
It's just like a 3000 GT. But the thing is, a 3000 GT owner is going to be a nerd. Like, they
Yeah.
will have maintained the car. Like,
A VR4 Spider will always be a cool car in my mind. The VR4 doesn't do anything for me.
even the SLs, like the owners of SLs.
Oh, yeah.
the like-
$12,000 car.
Well, no, I mean, like, so this is the thing. When you deal with the Z32 owner, they're doing nothing with the car. The car's not been touched in 24 years. They're like, you know what? It's got 3,000 miles on it. I'm like, all right, cool. When's the last oil change? Like, it doesn't need a one. It's got 3,000 miles on it. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying you have 30-year-old oil in the car?
was
Yes.
gonna- okay.
Like, okay, well,
If it's modern oil, fine, but it's not.
Yeah,
Oil
like-
put in those cars in the factory
like,
was not
the-
synthetic.
Can I pop off the timing belt cover? No, the timing belt's fine. It's got 3,000 miles, but it's been not touched.
It
and
says
could be
made in
cracked.
West Germany on it.
Like, I don't know about this. Whereas, like, all right, so you talk to somebody with a 3000 GT,
Yeah.
they would say, you know what, this car is one of 24. It was in New Zealand green.
Mm-hmm.
It was an SL Spider, and they only made 24 New Zealand green SL Spiders in the automatic transmission.
and I just spent 90,000 man hours in my garage replacing all the broken
Exactly.
shit.
And it's like, this car is so great to drive. I'm like, it's got 200 horsepower, it's automatic, it's front wheel drive. You have a Sebring. Like, they're like, yeah, but this car is so much better. I'm like, you know what? I will buy this car from you because I know it's been maintained. I know it's going to be the nicest Sebring in the world that I can buy. And that the other people in the world are going to be just as excited. And you know what? Even though this car is not worth this much money, I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be able to sell it for the exact same amount of money I paid for it because there's somebody else in the world that just really wants an SL for some reason. Like,
Yeah, a 3000 GT, if it's not maintained, won't work anymore,
but
which is a
none of-
plus.
and that's none
Because
of
you
them.
have to keep it in better condition.
All of them are working at this point because
Yeah.
all of the ones that haven't been maintained.
Because they've all
are-
been maintained.
Yeah, they've all been maintained, and they've maintained like every piece of paper with the car. They always have the car's weight and extra parts coming with it.
Yeah.
I will take 3000 GTs any day. Like, they're great.
Stupid 300ZX. They work even when they shouldn't. That's the problem.
Yeah,
They should break when they're broken.
yeah, and that's the thing. The 3000 GT does,
I know.
and like it
Anyway, on to the
totally
next one.
falls off its face.
R129 SL.
Really?
89 to 02. I don't see that moving this year. It's just like the E30. It moved too much in the last year.
I think you're right because you know what yeah, you're right because I've had.
Because keep in mind,
Every
2021 is going to be the year of the vaccine, and people are going to start going back to their life, and they're not going to be fun money purchasing shit that's just going to get used, like seldom, weekend cars.
Yeah,
So like the stuff that really pumped this year that we're surprised by, I think is really going to be the bear
And
take.
that's
next
kind of
year.
if you look at my list, these are cars that you can feasibly daily drive and you can use for road trips.
Exactly. And they're going to get parked in 21.
I think in the R129, yeah, I think you're right because even the panoramic glass roof cars
On the Silver Arrows and stuff, yeah.
yeah, like the panoramic glass roof cars aren't doing anything at all. Like I've had 2 panoramic glass roofs and they've both sold for the exact same amount of money that a non-panoramic. Well, maybe like $2,000 more.
So all
Like-
3 of the buyers have cars now, and they're satisfied?
Yeah, like
Okay.
yeah. Like,
A
I think
great car.
you're-
I
think you're
love
right.
129s, but I don't think this is the year for them. My last one, ZZW30. So 3rd gen MR2.
So I may have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Because I almost put that on my list.
Okay.
Because my reasoning is the person that would be buying a fun car for 2020, and if they had the disposable income, these are still kind of cheap.
Very cheap.
So like you can get it without like breaking, really breaking the bank. If you had some money in savings, and you had that stimulus money, you could totally combine that and get a ZZW30, which is a 3rd generation MR2.
Yep.
But I think that the reason they're going to keep going up is these are reliable and they don't have a footprint on your driveway that other cars have. Like,
Stock ones are not reliable.
what's wrong with
They
them?
have massive catalytic converter engine lining issues. So if you find one that's got a stock catalytic converter on it, I don't think I'd buy it.
You just take that. Well, yeah, but I mean, all right, that's like a minor. It's like one thing. It's a cat.
No, it's an engine.
Oh,
They take the engine out.
Oh,
Because as the engine goes on overrun, the pops from the unburnt fuel break the top lining of the catalytic converter and suck ceramic back into the combustion chamber, and it
problematic.
ruins the cross-hatching, and you can't bore it 'cause it's an MMC cylinder. So
that is problematic.
if you buy an MR2 and it has a factory header on it, which not many do anymore, make sure you get leak down numbers on that before you buy it.
Yeah. All
'Cause
right. So
Scott's MR2 that he bought,
Yes.
he went through 3 warranty engines on it.
But all right, so this is my thing though. Also, that's Scott. Of course, the worst possible solution is going to happen.
I know, but once I put a header on it, it was
was
fine. Also, it still passed emissions because there's a large third catalytic converter.
So with the ZZW30, the reason that's one major issue.
It is.
It's not like a biodegradable wiring harness eating everything alive.
No, and you know very clearly if it's been fixed or not.
Yeah. So like the ZZW30 has like one glaring issue.
It is one big issue.
Yeah, one glaring issue.
Yes.
So I still think overall, I mean, it says Toyota on it. That's the other thing that's important is that people, a lot of these people are just buying a car to enjoy for 2020 because like they don't want to stay in their house playing video games and they obviously can't go to a bar or hang out with friends.
Right.
Buying a 2-seater convertible is going to be totally reasonable at that point.
In
These
2020, yeah.
But these also get 30 miles per gallon plus. They don't take up any space. They're cheap. They're easy to maintain. These are cars you can feasibly daily drive still. Mm-hmm. So a ZZW30, I think, will be able to still go up in value because people will be like, hey, how'd the MR2 come out that you bought during 2020? Like, probably sucks, right? And the guy's like, no, it's fine. It gets better fuel economy than my crossover. Mm-hmm. It's more fun, and it's easier to park. Like, that's why I think the ZZW30 actually won't crash. So
long term, that car is going up, but the SW20 and 21 did it. The AW11 did it. There was a time where like these cars that are just good, they don't have any catastrophic issues.
Yeah.
They just didn't appreciate because people weren't buying them because they wanted something that was worse.
Well, I think the ZZW30 was. All right, so with the AW11, the reason that went up is everybody bought all the SW20s first, and then there weren't any left, and everybody bought. You just had the AE86 that was $20,000 inexplicably for no reason for a not running car that's on fire. Like, it just says AE86 on it. It's that chassis. It's an AE81. Like, it's technically the same chassis code. But you have those cars that are just ridiculous. And that's why the AW11 went up. Is because, like, all right, I get, like, 85. Actually, I get a car that's technically better than AE86.
Yeah. Because the engine's in the right place.
For a quarter of the price, why would I not buy that? That's why the
Exactly.
AW11 went up. The SW20 went up because people actually liked it. And I think the ZZW30 is going up because that is the best, cheapest mid-engine sports car you can get right now.
I also think I should have put this on bold, but SW20/21 I think is because it's hitting the age group now. Anything that was kind of aspirational in 1990 is going to be hitting a second win because it's people like us that have done the house purchase and now they're starting to get a swell of cash influx again and they're going back to re-experience stuff that they enjoyed when they were younger.
That's a really good point.
So that's why the 8 Series is going to keep being on my list because that's the thing.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford one of those, which you can't, you're going to look at an MR2.
Yep.
That's a very good point.
So anyway, we've spent too much time on this.
We were actually looking at MR2s. Well, I want to think of what would be our Carbitrage pick.
Ooh.
Crap, we both agree on.
For Bear or Bull or both?
For both, yeah. I think maybe for Bull, I could move. How about this? I'm gonna take a bet on the ZZW30, and then do you want to move over the W124 over to our combined Bull?
Yeah, let's do the 124 for Bull and the Bear for ZZW30.
All right. So, well, no, that's my thing. Is I want to actually go Bull personally on the ZZW30. I think it'll go up.
Oh.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Okay. So I guess we just won't have a.
I think for a Bear, I'm with you on the R129. I think it's not gonna do shit. So I'm adding that to
Excuse
the
me.
notes. Carbitrage.
My body likes to make weird noises.
Same.
All right, one second. Bear is. God damn it. I'm typing like a boomer right now.
That's fine. Well, since I have the next topic,
129.
I'll
There
just
we go,
start on this
perfect.
so we don't
I added those
absolutely
in.
kill all of our listeners.
Yeah, I know, right?
Where are we at? I was struggling to find topics, so I went to the drive. We'll see if we have
God,
a
I know.
pop-up blocker issue.
This whole like last 2 weeks have just been
Damn it, there's
terrible.
the ad. Okay, so excuse me. Since we can't do Nero Saga Part 2 because it's not over yet, it's going to be a great
Oh my
episode.
God,
once we
what?
do. It's going to be just as long as the first one, I guarantee it. We have some info about the new 2021s as well. It's going to be great. So this article on the drive states that basically, EV production costs might equal combustion vehicle costs like 7 years earlier than they anticipated just a couple years ago.
How come?
So the cost per kilowatt hour of batteries, that's the biggest thing. So the pack is by far the most expensive thing that you have to make for an electric car. That cost has been like an order of magnitude lower.
Oh, really?
Like it's been just like shooting down instead of gradually declining. So that's essentially it. I mean, the cost of, I think, a kilowatt hour is like $100 now,
You know,
and it used to be 1,000. Not that many.
Scott actually messaged me about the Nero crisis about a topic, but I decided not to put it on the list because I want to save
We
it.
need to have him back, and
I
it
just-
needs to be done at that point. But like, I'll let you listeners in.
I'm gonna just like be 100% quiet on everything about that car because I don't want to blow it because this thing's just such a gong show.
It's likely he's not going to be in his car. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, they're playing hardball. So is he. So. Need I remind you that this is the man that sued FCA over failed ball joints that he couldn't buy in his Fiat and won.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he'll win
he
this one
is
too.
A lawyer.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
he
but he
doesn't do
also-
car
No, but it's
lawyering,
it's
Car
so it's
lawyering.
so clearly the manufacturer's in the wrong. Like any court's gonna be like, fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of our market. We're taking Geely.
But this is great because one of the biggest things has been like we need these subsidies to like entice people into being, or let's be honest, we're still early adopters for electric vehicles. But even with them, most of them are quite a bit more expensive than an equivalently sized and capable gas burning
Yeah.
vehicle. So
Well, that's why I went with my Fiat. Is I couldn't find an EV that I wanted with a heat pump for
they
a reasonable
just
price.
don't exist yet.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. And
So
I
by the
like,
time you're sick of your Fiat, they will exist secondhand, and it'll be great.
yeah,
But I'm very excited about this. So that's that.
that's actually really cool. I'm very excited. I think having EVs available to the masses is huge. I also think
High range ones, anyway. I mean, you could buy a Leaf or i3s or sub 10 now.
I'm really excited for the future of hot rodding with EVs because a lot of people like
Yup.
nobody who does anything with cars really cares that much about EVs right now. They just go Tesla's fast. They don't know anything about them. But like now, with the
got a Tesla.
like now I've been reading it like learning about them. I'm like, this is gonna be great for street racing because cops catch you when you're street racing having a loud ass car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can just stop.
Yeah, you're
an
not
EV.
gonna
Doesn't
have
matter.
you're not gonna have a loud ass car in a Tesla. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a rocket. Like it's gonna be great. So
Winter tires, they're noisy enough where a cop might look, but yeah, it's great.
yeah, I'm very excited for that. That's gonna be awesome. I have some not awesome news.
All right, lay it on.
Codemasters, the people that made like Dirt and like Grid and everything,
Yeah.
and F1, the F1 series.
Yep.
They're being bought out by EA.
Yes,
So
but
this
it's
is
way better than the alternative company that was slated to buy them. EA bought out from underneath them.
who is it?
Corey knows.
Corey.
Who do they? It was some company that does just like absolutely crazy in-game like transaction-based
EA?
micro crap. No, worse than EA.
What is it, like not Funko? It's
I don't know anything about this.
Zynga or something. Zynga games. That's what it is. Zynga's the one, they used to do all the Facebook games. They do a whole bunch of mobile stuff.
I'm sure they're bad. That wasn't.
God. Well,
But either way, this is actually more positive than it could have been, believe it or not. Okay, Corey read my message. Who almost bought Codemasters? Come on, type. Our sound engineer isn't here today, so I have to text him. This will be worth it. Although he types
Boot, boot, boot,
2K
boot,
games, almost bought them.
ooh, that would have been worse. Yeah, because I'll give them that. But I mean, that's also saying like FIFA isn't the world's worst game.
Right, but it was transaction stuff. Because like it played like actual TV ads in your game,
Oh God, I remember 2K.
and it
did do
requires
that.
you to like put actual money in to buy your athletes and things like that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So this is bad because EA sucks, but it is so much better than 2K.
I guess you're right because I think EA really sucking. They are known to suck. They're a known quantity of suck.
They've sucked since the 80s.
And EA also, another thing that's very important about this is they put real TV ads in for immersion. It's true. But with EA, I I think what you're also getting is a known quantity for that, and something that they're already in the hot seat for ads and for microtransactions. So I think that actually, in hindsight, is going to be better because 2K is going to be able to get away with way more crap than EA can right now. So I think you have a good point with that. Also, you know what's be really cool? Now I'm thinking about this more.
What?
Need for Speed's going to get really good.
Good. Yeah, and you know what? This is a positive because currently wheel support sucks for all of those games.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I think
it
you're
will-
right.
it
And
will get
Project
better.
Cars as well. Yeah, okay. So, all right, I'll take this back.
They'll have a bigger development
This
community
is
behind
going to
them.
be,
It's.
I think it'll be a good thing.
I'm not happy, but like, I could be more angry about it.
It's one of those things I think I really want EA to like do like the whole sort of like what Hearst did with Brain Trail, where you just let them be and they just continue to make you money and you just exist. Yeah.
Be like, so we want you to do. Well, let me stop you there. Are we losing you money? Well, no.
Then
Do you have a problem with what we're doing? Well, no.
okay.
So let me ask you again. Do we have a problem here?
Yeah. No, we don't have a problem. We're good.
All right, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. I think as long as EA leaves them be, they'll be fine. So.
And I hope so. I will keep my fingers crossed because like I own some of these titles and I would love to be able to use force feedback on my wheel.
You know, and I'm gonna say like even with like BioWare and stuff and EA, like how they just destroyed BioWare. I think they've learned from that. And another thing that they did is Star Wars: The Old Republic, their MMO with it that BioWare's been running since 2011, since before BioWare sucked, because that was consistently making them money. It wasn't their biggest cash crop, but it was consistently making them money. Yeah, they didn't touch it, and it's great.
That
and
game is pretty good. I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, Star
That's the best thing I use Origin for.
Yeah, like, it's on Steam now, which is
Is
great.
it?
Yes, and it's free.
Damn it!
So it's
I
even,
bought it for benchmarking back in the day, so I guess okay.
Yeah, so it's a great MMO, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, so I think if EA just leaves them alone and just lets them do their job, I'm not gonna be mad about it. I won't complain.
As long as they improve the games and they don't put in real TV ads, I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I guess.
The only video games I play are The Sims and Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing does not have tons of microtransactions, but The Sims is terrible about it.
Yeah.
However, what I like
You
about
can't
The
get cars
Sims,
in either.
what I do like about The Sims though, is that EA didn't like totally like trash the modding community. They
Yeah.
actually use modders to make them stuff, and they give them like a small stipend or something. But
And
like,
then they charge people for the mods,
yeah,
but
that's
whatever.
the thing is like they don't shut down the modding community because the modding
Right.
community actually comes up with stuff where EA will later release it as a DLC. But
The original Sims modding shit has been so intense.
and it's still like that even with Sims 4. It's great. It's like my Sims 4, like my Sims have like drug problems and stuff. Like I had like a Sim like lose their house to eviction because they lost their job and like, the bills are way higher than they used to be.
Uh-oh.
And then like his like.
And this,
And then his like father-in-law had like a drinking problem, and like it created like an issue for like his like family. Like my Sims game,
games
is very,
are getting too complicated.
My Sims game, from all my weird mods, has made the game much darker and much more realistic. Like my Sim's like not happy. He's like
Wow, this kid started doing drugs after going to 2 Christmases.
this Sim's like he's like got like 2 kids, and he's like a writer at home, and he's depressed. It's great. I love it. Makes me feel so much better about my
I was
life.
reading these bios. It's crushing. Wow.
It's literally like that. Speaking of realistic video games,
Speaking not of realistic video games, kinda. So Cyberpunk 2077, or as I call it, Cyberdildo 2069. The game is finally
there
out.
are so many dildos in that game.
There are a lot of dildos in that game.
It is a dickapalooza in that game. Wow-wee.
So my character, I made a female because I mean you have to go through the configurator and analyze things for science. But I want to talk about the cars.
So I actually like the cars. I don't. All right, so this is the thing. The cars are awesome themselves.
They look cool.
Yes, they have a EA71 Subaru. They have a Brat. They've got a Testarossa. They've got that weird little wedge-shaped electric car that the guy down the.
That is cool.
That's very cool. They've got like a little tiny like like Honda Life step van.
They've got a paid placement Porsche 911 air-cooled.
Mm.
The part I can't stand is all the transmissions in the game refuse to upshift unless you are at the absolute top of the rev range.
Yeah, that's really. I noticed that. That's
I hate
bothersome.
that. The steering is digital AF. So in order to drive a car down the road, yes, that meme is accurate. You have to, assuming that you are playing you're playing it on a gaming PC with a regular control input, which is a mouse and keyboard.
Oh, it's terrible on that. No, you gotta play with the controller.
No, you do not play games with controllers. If you have one of those plugged in just for the driving portion, fine. But also, no.
That's literally what I do. Well, all right, so this is the thing is, I mapped all the controls onto the controller. And my thing is with Cyberpunk,
May as well just have a console.
well, no, when I was like watching all the like, pre-release stuff on Cyberpunk and like everything, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally just gonna like go through all the controls, like do a once over on them. It's also something I do. Like I always get a feel for a game. I always like kind of mess around with the controls for a little bit.
Well, you pretty much have to. I mean, control schemes are so complicated now in modern games.
Well, it's something I learned from like MMOs and from like Counter-Strike, where
Anyway.
it's step one is play with your controls.
That aside, even if you're not talking about a keyboard and mouse, the handling is awful. The physics is terrible. The fact that none of the configurations of physical hardware in the car match how they sound, except for the Porsche. They actually made that sound like a flat air-cooled 6 because they were paid to put it in there. But the first vehicle you drive, if you start as the Rogue or whatever, or the Wanderer or the Drifter,
Yeah, the Drifter.
you have a
Nomad.
You have
That's
the
what it is.
Nomad.
Yeah.
You start with this little hatchback, which they pop the hood several times.
It's the Galena, by the way. That's
It's-
the one that's a Subaru.
Great.
Subaru GL10.
The biggest issue I have is it clearly has like an early Volkswagen 1.64 cylinder with like a whole set HS60 on it with no intercooler, and then it won't run because this like high voltage coupling is there. But the worst part, it's all-wheel drive and it's clearly a V8 when you're driving it. It makes V8 noises. Like just make it sound like a 4-cylinder with a turbo.
So I had a completely different experience.
It
Because
drives me up a wall.
the
The beauty of this game, I'll let you take it from here, they have pettable cats.
yes, they do have pettable cats. I
There's the
spent
kitties.
15 minutes petting a naked cat.
Hell yeah, it is
I-
a hairless cat, which
yeah.
sucks, but whatever.
Well, no, there's non-hairless cats too.
Really? I haven't seen
Yes,
those yet.
they do exist, but I did spend 15 minutes petting a naked cat.
I know, he
It's
just
great.
like goes down.
It
and
was
then
really cute.
he
And
can
they
go
look-
right back.
And then he looks at you. He's so
know.
cute. Oh, I love it. Anyway, so I had the exact opposite experience with cars in this game because
I mean, you're wrong, but that's fine.
well, no. So this is what happened: is I got into the Fiat X19 that's in
Okay,
the game.
sure.
You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
I
Yeah.
do.
So that one's
Core is
got
much further ahead.
it's got 3 exhaust pipes in it, and I somehow got the camera stuck underneath the car. I was just like, I got into a hell of an accident with it, and that's what happened. It was like the camera stuck between a wall and the
This
car.
is fine.
But I was looking underneath the car, and it's got 3 exhaust outputs, and they all feed into one tiny little tube that goes up to a
I will
4
say,
into 1
The
header.
undercar stuff, very accurate.
Yeah, super accurate. But it's a hybrid. Yeah, it's a hybrid. So it does like the engine like does its thing, but like there's actually like engine, what looks like a drive unit, and then a transmission. So yeah, it's weird, but that one makes sense at least. And also, the what I can't remember the name, but the double front wheel car.
Oh, yeah. I know.
That one's
sure.
rear wheel
Yeah,
drive, the
yeah,
two
yeah.
front.
Yeah.
That car's got bananas understeer, and it's exactly what I expect. I looked at that car, and I'm like, this car's going to suck to drive. It's going to understeer like a bitch. I got into that car, first thing it did, I ran out pedestrian because it just understeered like right through an intersection on a rainy night. I'm like, yeah, that's...
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
So I think the issue is the Nomad storyline and the shit that happens outside of town.
No, it's not just that. Because I mean, even the AI cars,
You know,
A,
I
they're
will
running
say-
on tracks. B, if you bump one, they just stop forever.
Yeah.
That's dumb. And like they
Yeah.
they just randomly like will lane change. It's the AI for the other cars is really bad.
Yeah, the traffic's not the
driving
best. I will
dynamics-
say the motorcycles objectively suck.
Yeah.
Because
How they work doesn't necessarily make sense.
So I got onto like a sport bike. The first thing I did is I killed one of the tire claws. I'm like, it's a Bosuzoku bike. It's great. And I take it around a corner, and like, it's really top heavy. And I spun around and did like a 180. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it should have spat me out. And then like I got into the smallest car accident, and it sent me flying into the like from like a 10-mile-an-hour accident. And like I cleared the roof of this car and landed behind it. I'm like, what the hell? So yeah, that's fair.
Maybe it's just bugs, but I don't know. It's for a car that really does have a lot of mandatory car integration. I feel like
Yes.
they should have done better.
So one of the things I would recommend doing off the bat if you get Cyberpunk.
I haven't have been playing it. I hate the car mechanics.
Yeah, no, but this honestly helps a lot, at least with the feel of the cars. There's a dead spot in the steering on it, and then when you hold it all the way right on a controller, or if you're using a mouse and keyboard, there's a like it's not like force. I forgot what they call it. One of the settings basically, it is a delay on how long it takes for your wheel to turn. And it's defaulted to off, and that totally screws up the handling. So if you actually
It screws up the steering response.
Yeah.
Because that vastly improves. Like it's almost unusable if you just go for the keyboard
Yeah.
right off the bat. The cars still don't handle properly, and the transmissions still won't shift.
well, also, I feel like they've got bigger fish to fry than.
And four cylinders don't sound like V8s. But
Yes.
yes, they've got to fix the trees turning into liquid problems and all
I
this
haven't
other
had
stuff.
any of these issues.
I haven't either, but I've seen plenty of people with bugs. So again, I'm on brand new hardware on a PC because
I
I'm
have
not
screenshot.
poor,
So
but-
I'm not. I'm on a 5-year-old gaming computer with an upgraded GPU. That's it.
yeah.
And like 16 gigs of RAM. Like, it's not a spectacular computer. I actually plan to rebuild it this winter. But it's one of those things where like
Don't do it right now. Hardware is
yeah, I
impossible
know.
to find.
But it's one of those things where it's just like I haven't had any issues. However, I have screenshotted every issue I had. I had floating chopsticks in a scene where I was talking to Jackie Wells. If you playing the Street Kid, which I am, you would understand.
You talk to him either way.
Okay, cool. So
You go through the same story to start in a
tight.
different
All
place.
right. So yeah, I was talking to Jackie. We were hanging out outside my apartment. And he was eating with chopsticks, and I was just floating chopsticks. There's another one where I was talking to the hot chick with the undercut and the tattoos. She's got a My Chemical Romance tattoo. Yeah, she does. Seriously. Yeah, she's got My Chemical Romance lyrics tattooed on her arm.
Okay.
If only if you actually get a good look at her, because I happened to be sneaking when I walked into the room. It's the first thing I saw. But anyway,
I need proof of this. I need to
Sure.
fact check that.
But anyway, there was a scene where she was holding her cell phone. She turned around, the cell phone just stayed there.
Oh.
Yeah, that was another weird one. And I saw 3 people in total T-posing.
Yep, I've seen the T-pose stuff. I've seen camera-
We were out in public when he told me about the T-posing, and I just started walking around T-pose.
Yeah, we started T-posing in IKEA. And actually,
Hopefully, you didn't do it naked.
you know what? I think that can fix COVID. Because it's very hard to not socially distance when everybody's T-posing.
And
and,
naked.
and refuses to not T-pose. So I'm just going to walk around T-posing everywhere I go.
Well, we're not, but
This is the worst thing to end an episode on ever.